you retired or soon to be retired? Do you want to make sure your investments continually outgrow your expenses throughout all your retirement years? Do you have questions about your health, your fitness, professional money management, Social Security benefits, or how to give to those you love without giving up control over your estate? Welcome to Financial Freedom with Paul Taylor, a show about living the best years of your life your way. Now, here is your host of Financial Freedom, Paul Taylor.
Well, good morning, Charlotte area. This is Paul Taylor with the Financial Freedom Show, where knowledge is money. And if you were listening a few weeks ago, we changed our slogan to applied knowledge is money. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't do something about it, you will not change a thing. You ever heard of the definition of insanity? Keep doing the same thing and expect different results. Well, I am live this morning. I am back from being out of town. We did a couple of reruns the last 2 weeks on Saturday, and I hope you listened to them. We had Rao Garuda, just a very intelligent guy from India, came to the United States with $56 in his pocket, and now one of the wealthiest guys in the United States. Had a lot of good information. So if you if you happen to miss that show, you can go to our website and listen to that at capitaladvgroup.com. We've got a very special guest here today, which we'll get to him in just a moment. But if you do want to talk to us, have any questions about the information we're going to be discussing, you can reach us live at 704-570-9610. That's 704-570-9610. But also, we've been advertising. We've got a couple of mini classes coming up that's going to educate you. We've been talking about the fiscal cliff, which, good gosh, could you hear any more about the fiscal cliff? I don't know. If you have questions or concerns, please email us or give us a call. Our toll-free number is 1-800-551-5086. Listen, if you are on Social Security, if you're going to be going on Social Security, if you're a young person listening to today's radio show, stay tuned because we're going to be talking about some Social Security timing things that can benefit you up to $100,000, over $100,000 on how you take those options. And I would encourage you not to turn off the radio until you've listened to the show completely. If you have parents who are on Social Security, who will be going on Social Security soon, I would tell them to listen into this recording today. Actually, not recording, but our live station today, and catch our recording on our website should you want to get more information. All right, with that being said, John, are you here this morning? John, are you here this morning? David, I mean?
Yeah, I'm here, Paul.
That's always good when you call your guest by the wrong name. Hey,
I'll answer to anything.
I tell you what, that's a problem with being live. It's too doggone early in the morning for me. I don't know about you.
It's okay.
I know you and I got in on a plane very late last night. I didn't get home till about 7:38, and I was wore out from our wonderful trip in Topeka, Kansas. And I know you lost your luggage, and was having to run down a lady who took your luggage, and you had hers. And so I take it you got home safely last night finally.
I did. I made it home in time to pick up to-go dinner and have a nice dinner with my wife and daughter last night.
Well, good. Well, good. Folks, David is a planner. We work together. He's out of the Gastonia area. And I know the radio station reaches all the Charlotte, Lake Norman, Gastonia areas. So if you have any questions concerning what we're going to be discussing today, you can call toll-free at 800-551-5086 because we're going to be discussing a lot of different things. Now, if you're really young, I know we have a lot of young listeners on these particular stations on 610 and 1660. And if you just happen to be tuning in, know that we do replay this show on 1660 from 8 to 9. But what we were talking about yesterday, and something that David and I have been spending some time on, is Social Security timing. David, we were talking, I used to think there was only 81 ways, or 81 different ways in which you can turn on your Social Security benefits. And, one thing that you educated me on was there was a substantial number of different ways. Expand on that a little bit and why somebody should really get and not only expand on that, but let's talk about if somebody goes to the Social Security Administration, they're not going to receive any advice. and what we can do for them?
Well, that's a good question. First off, the Social Security Administration is not allowed to give anyone any advice. They cannot give you any advice at all regarding what's your best option. They can simply tell you what is the maximum benefit that you can receive today. That's it. They can just simply give you a snapshot of what you can do today. You can ask them questions about the future, but they won't answer them. They're not allowed to give any advice.
Why do you think that is?
Because they don't want to get sued and someone say, well, you gave me bad advice.
Okay.
I would imagine that's the reason.
Well,
and
also,
the other reason is I honestly don't know that they know all the options. That's something that we have learned in our experience has been a lot of the workers just haven't been thoroughly educated about all the unique planning strategies. And that goes back to your prior question of 81 options. Where that number comes from, Paul, is if you have a man and a woman who are 62 or turning 62, they have 9 possible election options from 62 to 70, counting the endpoints. The man has 9 and the woman has 9. Well, there's 81. Well, there's more than that because there are unique planning strategies. There are different ways that are unique to married couples that aren't available for single people. For example, there are spousal benefits. And what that's referring to is my ability to have 50% of the benefit off of my wife and vice versa. And then you have the file and suspend. And file and suspend is when I can file for benefits but not collect. And that gives my wife the opportunity to collect her spousal benefit off of me. So when you take all these different variables, along with survivor benefits for the last spouse to live who can be entitled to the higher of the 2 benefits, there's over 10,000 possible combinations. So it is mind-boggling to think, how could someone possibly figure out the best way to do it when you've got over 10,000 options? And it's impossible without software, which is the Social Security timing software that we were talking about this past weekend. It's a software that is something that we as advisors use every day to show our clients the best possible option regardless of when they choose to turn it on.
And there's a big difference in when you should turn it on, and I think you really hit the nail on the head right there. The reason Social Security Administration is not going to give you advice on when you should turn it on, when you should take, or how you should take, is because there's 10,000 different options. And they also don't have access to the complex software that we have that's able to run reports and able to even manipulate those reports to meet somebody's particular situation. Maybe somebody wants to wait till they're 67, or somebody went, hey, what happens if I wait till I'm 69? When's the best crossover time? There's so many different scenarios, and they don't have that access. Plus, David, I'll call you John one more time this morning. David, the thing is it's very complex, and if you're not good with numbers, it's pretty hard to run this, don't you think?
I agree, and what a lot of people oftentimes have used to make the decision is what's called the break-even analysis. And the break-even analysis works for a single person. It's simply a matter of if you want to collect early at 62, you'll collect less money for a longer period of time, or you can delay it and collect more money for a shorter period of time. And it's a matter of just figuring out what is your life expectancy. And the break-even point may be 14 years. And if you feel like you're going to live to 76 or less, then clearly you need to be drawing Social Security.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel like you have average life expectancy, which for a male who's about 60 years old is around 81, then it may be better off to delay. But the break-even analysis doesn't work for married couples because of those unique planning strategies we were talking about, the switch strategies. There's a lot of other variables. And there's even a pot of gold that we refer to as the free money that a lot of people don't know about, which we'll cover later, I guess.
Yes.
But that makes it definitely more complicated, and the break-even analysis breaks down for married couples.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit real quick about the switch strategies. Now, explain that a little bit.
A switch strategy is simply when you file for a certain benefit and then switch to a different benefit later, a higher benefit later.
And why would somebody even think about doing that? What's the advantage?
Well, I'll give you an example. If I have a married couple, let's say Dick and Jane are both 66 years old, they both could have been on Social Security at a reduced level for the previous 4 years. We all know that. At age 62, you can collect Social Security benefits at a reduced level, and your benefit level would be 75% of what's called your PIA. And the PIA stands for primary insurance amount, which means that's your benefit at age 66 if you wait until full retirement age. And most people who are getting ready to go on Social Security or are going to be going on it in the near future, age 66 is full retirement age. Well,
yes.
A lot of people just assume I either collected at 62 or I collected at 66. They don't even know that there is a big benefit to delay pushing it out to age 70. And age 70, you actually can get 132% of your PIA amount. So that means that Social Security is growing at 8% per year from age 66 to 70, guaranteed. And
at 8% a year.
At 8% per year, correct.
So in other words,
the real dilemma there is if I've got other assets, I have to ask myself, are those other assets growing at 8% per year guaranteed? And the answer, 99.9% of the time, is, well, no. It's not growing at 8% guaranteed. My CD's growing at 1%.
Yeah.
So the question you have to look into and figure out with the help of a planner is, would I be better off to use some of my assets, collect a reduced benefit, and use some of my other assets, which aren't growing at 8%, leaving my Social Security into deferral because it is growing at 8%. And that's the switch strategy, going back to your original question. So, for example, my Dick and Jane client at 66, the husband could file a restricted application and collect a benefit, for example, off of his wife. So to give you put a number to it, let's say that his wife's benefit at age 66 is $1,800 a month. He can allow his to continue to roll up and get delayed retirement credits. If his benefit, for example, at age 66 is $2,000, he can collect half of his wife's by doing a switch strategy, which is called a restricted application. That's critical that you know those words, restricted application. You're basically telling Social Security, I want to collect a benefit, but not mine. I want to collect a benefit off of my wife. So my wife is collecting her benefit, let's say at age 66. She turns it on, and she's collecting her benefit, her $1,800. I can collect $900 a month, and it does not affect hers. It doesn't reduce hers. It doesn't affect mine in a negative way. Mine's going up at 8% per year. So I could be collecting $900 myself, my wife collecting $1,800. We've got $2,700 a month. And then when I ultimately turn 70, I can switch and turn on my benefits. And at the 8% roll-up, my $2,000 a month may be $3,000 a month.
What's the largest amount that you've seen if people follow some of these strategies that we're talking about that has been added to their overall, I guess, estate or their overall savings plan by doing this?
Well, what number you might be referring to is their cumulative benefit. They're over their lifetime, expected lifetime benefit from Social Security. That big number is cumulative expected benefits. And I have seen couples who came in at 62 years old with one planning mentality, and by the time we did the analysis, two substantial breadwinners, it was a difference of about $110,000 that they were able to collect more by following my advice and some of these unique planning strategies. It made a $110,000 difference.
Folks, I know we have put a lot of numbers on air today, but I'm just trying to tell you, $110,000 that you can gain just by being or getting a illustration ran or getting a Social Security timing type report ran for you, you can add this free money to your overall retirement. This is the Financial Freedom Show. You're listening to Paul Taylor this morning with special guest David Conner. If you want to talk to us, we'll be back in just a moment.
Hey, this is Tony from CBS Radio. Paul Taylor, president and founder of Capital Advisory Group and your financial coach, and also the host of Financial Freedom, heard every Saturday morning at 7 a.m., understands that your ultimate goal is making sure your money lasts a lifetime. Mark your calendar on Thursday, December 6th, Monday, December 10th, and Tuesday, December 11th at 6 p.m. At his office, Paul will be holding the most comprehensive one-hour financial learning event he has ever held before. Over the years, listeners of Financial Freedom have had access to numerous classes, charts, systems, newsletters, and bits of information to guide them through choppy financial waters. Paul has put together a simplified one-hour event for the layman investor and retiree, explaining the 7 financial tools. 98% of all retirement savings flow into and how to choose which one is best for you. So call Capital Advisory Group today, 704-947-6985. Once again, 704-947-6985. Seating is limited, so call today.
This is Paul Taylor, president and co-founder of Capital Advisory Group. I have put together a simplified one-hour event for the layman investor and retiree for free. Call Capital Advisory Group at 704-947-6985. Call now. Seating is limited.
You're listening to Financial Freedom, a show about living the best years of your life your way. Now, here's your host, Paul Taylor.
And welcome back. Good morning, Charlotte. We are live in the studio this morning. If you'd like to speak to us, you can call direct at 704-570-9610. Give us a call if you have any questions. We've been talking about Social Security, and I realize a lot of our listeners on 610 and 1660 early on Saturday are younger folks, but don't worry about that, because if your parents are going to Social Security, and plus, this is just knowledge you should have. A lot of people just sign up for Social Security, think that's all they got to do. It's money they paid in all their life, and that could be an over a $100,000 mistake. We've got a real special guest today, David Conner, and we'll get back to him in just a moment. I was so excited about the show this morning, I forgot to even cover the markets for the week. Anyways, let's basically they were flat. The Dow Jones moved only 3.76 points higher on Friday. This was a gain of 16 points for the week, so hardly any change there. The Standard & Poor's Index ended up 0.23 point, less than a quarter of a point change on the week, and the NASDAQ was down 1.79 points to 3,000. The reason, I'm sorry, that was for Friday. It gained 1.46% for the week. I'm telling you, it's too early in the morning for me. I don't think clear. But listen, we are so glad you're here listening to us today, and just want to cover a couple things. One, the big news out there has been the fiscal cliff. You probably heard it so much you're sick of hearing it. It's almost like hearing about the elections a few weeks ago. You were so sick of hearing campaigning. But the fiscal cliff is a very serious, sharp government spending cuts that will be could be devastating to our economy if something's not done by January 1st. As you heard during our break, I had a commercial playing about some classes that we are actually covering this information. 2 of those classes are booked. So if you're interested, you need to call and give us a call. And I've got to look up that 800 number because I don't have that memorized. But it's 1-800-551-5086. If you don't have a pen handy, get one now. Give me a call, because this is something I'm doing for free currently. I will be doing the colleges next year, and it will cost you money. So 1-800-551-5086. Or you can call my office directly at 704-947-6985, but there are no live operators there. You can call us Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5. That's 704-947-6985. Just a couple of things. You can also go to Facebook and say you like Capital ADV Group. I would encourage you to do that, because I put a YouTube video on there last week showing that even if we shut off our government, even if we close down our military, that it's impossible for us to balance our budget. And even though the news that you've been hearing has been the financial fiscal cliff, this is only the minute part of what I think is going to be coming in the future. So go and check that out. It's a CPA circling the balance sheet for the U.S. government, showing if we actually turned off our government spending tomorrow for all government employees and our military, we still could not balance our budget with what we were bringing in taxes and what we're paying out. Pretty scary. And he even does a comparison to Greece, and actually we're headed to a worse scenario. So if you are in a buy and hold situation with your financial planning, what I'm going to be talking about in these classes is how to make money in the sideways moving market. David, you know as well as I do, we've been in a sideways moving market since January of 2000. The S&P 500 has never got back to the high we had. Every time it almost gets to that, it drops. So for 12 years, people have been sitting in their same positions, hoping that they're going to make some money in the sideways moving market. And I believe we've got at least 7 years of that. I don't know about you. We really didn't talk about this much, but do you believe we've got quite a bit of time before we ever see this market move up again?
Well, actually, I would add one thing to what you said. I agree. However, one thing I would say we haven't talked about is if you had $100,000 at the end of 1999, you may have been at $100,000 by the time you look at the account value today, but that doesn't take out anything like inflation. So you actually have less money today than you had in 1999. And as far as the way I look at it, Paul, if we were sideways over the last 13 years and we had not felt the true impact of what people have referred to as the $53 trillion asteroid, we had a $53 trillion asteroid hit the United States January 1, 2011. And that was the day that the first baby boomer, the very first one, turned age 65. And not only might have already turned on their Social Security, but they went on Medicare. And the estimated cost for Social Security and Medicare for the 10,000 people a day turning 65 every day is $53 trillion. So something doesn't add up. If we can't afford what we've got, we can barely afford, to stay where we're at. We can't. We're actually going backwards every day. How in the world are we going to be able to go sideways with the ripple effect of this $53 trillion asteroid? If we're lucky if it goes sideways for the next 10 years. I've actually heard that one of the money managers in New York that I was reading his article, he said he's expecting a 16% decline on average per year for the next 4 years, and that the equity markets return are going to be zero until 2021. So I would say going sideways, Paul, is best case scenario, but I'm not a crystal ball reader, but I wouldn't put a lot of faith in it.
You and I are on the same page. I mean, that's shocking come out of your mouth because I would have said the exact same thing. I mean, I know who you're talking about in New York, but a couple of others, I was talking about the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, what's his name?
Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, he was even talking about it, and he's a very, very respected author, and not only an author, a very wealthy man, and he's talking about, he's made quite a bit of money not only in real estate but also in the market, and he says that these times are over. And also Bill Gross. Now, Bill Gross, I don't know if you know who he is, but he is the money manager for Fidelity, and not Fidelity, but once again, PIMCO. Once again, it is too early in the morning for me, folks.
Yeah, he's the bond guy.
He's the bond guy.
The bond guy for PIMCO.
But he said that bonds, first of all, that the returns from bonds and the returns from stocks, those decades are over. And this is one of the largest bond managers in the world, not just the U.S., but in the world, who has stated that the bond returns are over. And if you were listening to our show, I think 4 weeks ago, I had a gentleman on here who's a bond manager, and he was talking about that there's more money pouring into bonds right now than there was in the NASDAQ in 1999. And that is the next big bubble that's going to burst because people are moving from money markets, from savings accounts, trying to get some type of return, thinking that bonds are guaranteed. And as you know as well as I do, if interest rates go up, that bond values will go down. Well, good gosh, with all the money that we're printing, and with the Fed fund rate being at almost zero, it has only one place to go but up. So, and you said something interesting. And folks, if you're just joining us, we've been talking about Social Security and Social Security timing, and how and when you take advantage of this could make over $100,000 difference on money that you receive from the government. I don't know if you're aware of this, David, and the tax for Social Security, which was implemented right after the Great Depression, when they set that up, the reason they did it at age 65 for Social Security payout at 65 and Medicare, the reason they did that is because the average lifespan was 65 years old. It was a benefit they really never thought they would have to pay out. And you just said there's a 53 trillion baby boomers.
No, it's a $53 trillion asteroid. There's 10,000 people a day turning 65.
Okay, gotcha. So the $53 trillion is the need to fund Medicare and Social Security?
Pardon?
What's the $53 trillion you're talking about?
That's the estimated cost of the baby boomer generation over the next 10 years for Medicare and Social Security. That's the estimated cost our country to fund it is $53 trillion.
Wow. Over the next 10 years?
Yes.
Wow. Well, let's talk about how folks can once again take advantage of different options. We've got a sophisticated software program that will run a report that can be manipulated so that if you want to retire at age 66, or I want to work till I'm 68, we can actually change those numbers and show you what the difference is. And the reason you would do this, I'm going to back up because sometimes it's hard to understand numbers when you're listening to radio. You were talking about how a man can take half of his wife's Social Security and defer his. Folks, one reason you might want to do this is because most men do not outlive their wives. I mean, let's just go ahead and come out with it clean. Man, if you want to make sure your wife is taken care of and she's going to get 100% of your Social Security, it's sometimes smarter to defer that. And especially, you said it was growing at 8%, which, once again, I learned that while we were at our meeting this weekend at Topeka, or this week. And 8% roll-up, that's phenomenal. It makes a lot of sense if you can afford not to turn Social Security on right at the earlier ages.
You're right. And let me backpedal. Let me go back a couple minutes ago of what you were saying. I wanted to expand on that. When Social Security came out, age 65 was normal. People would work until 60 or 65. They would retire. They'd go on Social Security, and they'd be gone in a year. Nowadays, people's life expectancy, due to advances in medical technology and people taking better care of themselves, people oftentimes are living to 90 and 95 years old. Matter of fact, a fastest growing segment of the population, believe it or not, is centenarians. So that's all the more reason why it's important to have an income stream guaranteed for the rest of your life, and you need to plan on living more than just 10 or 15 years, because you may be the one living to 95 years old, or more likely your wife will be the one living to 95 years old. And if you can delay your Social Security like you were referring to, you're giving your spouse the most income you possibly can. So in my prior example of a man who could draw out $2,000 at 66 and $3,000, and I'm just using fake numbers, but $3,000 at age 70, by the time that he dies, she's going to get the absolute most bang for her buck from Social Security, because hers will drop off and she will obtain his Social Security level guaranteed for the rest of her life. And Social Security, folks, there's a lot of, and Paul, we hadn't talked about this, but a lot of people say, well, is Social Security going to be there? Is it going to be around? Is it going to basically fall apart? Well, the answer is no, it's not. It's fully funded as it is right now. Social Security Trust Fund is fully funded, and Social Security is fully funded until 2036. So until 2036, there's plenty of money for this generation. And after 2036, it's 75 cents on the dollar. Now, there are changes that are going to be made, are going to have to be made, and one of them is moving the goalpost. Instead of early retirement at 62 and normal retirement at 66, I firmly believe that my generation, our generation, possibly anybody born after, say, 1960, they're going to push back that goalpost. And early retirement might be 66.
I agree 100%.
And normal retirement may be 70.
Yeah.
Well, that's one way to fix the problem. The other way to fix the problem is raise the wage base. For example, nowadays it's $106,000 a year approximately is what you pay Social Security on your first $106,000 of income. They could simply push that bar back and say $200,000. You're going to pay into Social Security up to $200,000 of income. Those two changes alone would rectify the problem with Social Security.
Well, and I don't think they're going to do 100% away with it because it's a benefit that people have gotten used to. But, folks, you are listening to the Financial Freedom. David, unfortunately, we have to go to a break real quick, so we'll be right back. But you're listening to the Financial Freedom Show with Paul Taylor and our guest David Conner this morning talking about Social Security, the fiscal cliff, and what you can be doing with your money in this crazy times. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Tony from CBS Radio. Paul Taylor, president and founder of Capital Advisory Group and your financial coach, and also the host of Financial Freedom, heard every Saturday morning at 7 a.m., understands that your ultimate goal is making sure your money lasts a lifetime. Mark your calendar on Thursday, December 6th, Monday, December 10th, and Tuesday, December 11th at 6 p.m. At his office, Paul will be holding the most comprehensive one-hour financial learning event he has ever held before. Over the years, listeners of Financial Freedom have had access to numerous classes, charts, systems, newsletters, and bits of information to guide them through choppy financial waters. Paul has put together a simplified one-hour event for the layman investor and retiree, explaining the 7 financial tools. 98% of all retirement savings flow into and how to choose which one is best for you. So call Capital Advisory Group today, 704-947-6985. Once again, 704-947-6985. Seating is limited, so call today.
This is Paul Taylor, president and co-founder of Capital Advisory Group. I have put together a simplified one-hour event for the layman investor and retiree for free. Call Capital Advisory Group at 704-947-6985. Call now. Seating is limited.
Welcome back to Financial Freedom, a show about living the best years of your life your way. Here's your host, Paul Taylor.
And welcome back and good morning. We are live this morning. If you'd like to give us a call, the number here is 704-570-9610. We've been covering a number of different topics, mainly talking about Social Security timing. I realize that many people and many of the listeners, 2610 and 1660 are younger, but if you have parents who are already on Social Security, depending when they got on, they still have options. Or if you have folks who are approaching those Social Security ages, which is 62 and 65, 66, you will want to give us a call. We are actually offering a free report to the first 100 callers. I'm just kidding. Don't call in this morning. We are offering a free report, though. You can call us at 1-800-551-5086. It is limited to how many people we can run that for, but if you'll give us a call, David is over in the Gastonia area. I will be glad to give you his information. He is our guest this morning. I consider him one of the Social Security gurus of the area, and he has been sharing his knowledge and educating me also on this. And, our key tagline for our show is knowledge is money, but not just knowledge, but applied knowledge. So give us a call today, and we will run that report for you. We will show you how possibly you can get an additional $100,000, over $100,000 free from the government legally, And the Social Security Administration is not going to share any of this information with you because they can't. It's against their employment agreement to do that. Plus, they don't have the software to do it. It is a very sophisticated software that runs these programs and allows you to look at a number of different scenarios. So welcome back. David, are you still on here with me?
I am.
All right, fantastic. You know, David, you've educated me just today on the show because I was looking, we talked about this a little bit when we were in the airport yesterday, and the $53 trillion asteroid, I wasn't catching what you were saying with that. And now I'm getting it because of the number of baby boomers. By the way, folks, 10,000 a day baby boomers coming into the system. And when I say the system, I'm talking about Social Security and Medicare. 10,000 a day. The cost to fund that for Medicare and Social Security is $53 trillion. That's trillion with a T dollars. Now, if you listened to my show before, I've explained the difference between a billion and a trillion. You hear trillion all the time from politicians, but you need to understand the difference. A billion seconds ago was 32 years. Not too bad. I was born, I was walking around here. A trillion seconds ago was 32,000 years ago. That is a big difference, folks. And there is a $53 trillion need that is occurring over the next 10 years.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah.
Another way to envision it, because I am a visual person, everyone has seen on TV or at the bank a stack of $100 bills with the paper around it. That represents $10,000 and a block of money. And if you put 10 of those together, that's how money is transported via the banks. And obviously that's going to be $100,000. Well, a $100,000 stack is probably about 10 inches high or 12 inches high. To give your listeners an idea of what $53 trillion looks like, you could stack up $100,000 blocks of money, and $53 trillion would go to the moon and back 2.5 times.
Unbelievable. That is a great visual. 2.5 times.
A stack of money.
And that's just for Social Security and Medicare, folks. And so, one thing, if you're listening to my show, I really want you to understand that the fiscal cliff that you're hearing so much about, I don't know, if you have not heard the word fiscal cliff in the last month, you've had your head in the sand. And the fiscal cliff, they're talking about the effects. That's one reason the market, David, the market moved almost 200 points the other day just between two different politicians talking about whether or not the fiscal cliff was going to get resolved. But this is minute. This is the beginning of a number of different issues that are going to be coming down the I would say the pipe that's going to be affecting our economy. And that's what we're teaching in our class. And, once again, those classes two of them are filled up, but give us a call because we'll be glad to get you into next year if we can't get you in this year. And what we're doing in this class is we're talking about a number of different issues, how to make money in this market. Buy and hold strategies just are not going to work if you've been doing that. Folks, I'm just telling you, you need to really look at your portfolio. We'll help you look at that. But if you've been doing that, wake up. It hasn't been working. The market hasn't gone nowhere since 2000. It's moved sideways. And if you really look at what some of the experts are saying, is that there is going to be a great downfall in the future. And also, what we're doing in these classes, we're educating you if you are Social Security. These are mini classes, by the way, that I do, David, and the reason I do those is because everybody's different. So, if I have somebody in there that's 65 and somebody in there that's 45, obviously I've got to keep it very generic. But if you have specific questions, we'll try to answer those at these classes. And if it's too specific, we'll try to get some time for you in our office. But you can call our toll-free number, 1-800-551-5086. That's 800-551-5086, where we have live operators who will take your call and schedule a phone appointment for my office to give you a call, see if we have any openings in that. Also, if you would like a Social Security timing report, we are making that available on today's show. And if you're in the Gastonia area, feel free to call the 800 number. I will give you John's information and get you over to him, and he will run reports for you. He's actually doing a seminar this Thursday at the library in Gastonia at 5:30. Is that correct, John? I mean, John. I'm going to call you John Connor. I was the Terminator.
It's from 5:30 to 6:30 at the Gaston County Library on Garrison Boulevard.
Okay. And I'm going to actually be there, folks. So if you're wanting to drive over to Gastonia, then just feel free to do that. But we're going to be talking about a number of the issues we've been talking about. So if you missed part of our show, just know that we do put that on our website each time. That's capital ADV, like an advisor group.com. You can go listen to any of our shows at any time on there. And we are going to be discussing in detail, or John's going to be discussing in detail on Thursday at the Gaston County Library, 5:30 to 6:30, about Social Security
John's
time.
not, but David.
David. Man, David, I'm telling you, David, it is too early in the morning for me. I do not know what I'm doing in here. I normally record this show, and I'm not an early Saturday morning guy, so
that's all right.
I apologize.
That's all right. Paul, I got an idea. The listeners, especially those folks who are looking at their parents' situation, I can give you a real-life example of a case that I recently worked on, if you'd like to hear it.
I would. I know what we're winding down here on this segment. We only got like about a minute left.
Oh, okay.
So
maybe we'll do that after the break.
I want to spend the final segment on that real-life case where you actually, folks, he helped a gentleman get an extra $1,000 a month that changed his entire life just by taking advantage of what the Social Security Administration will not tell you. This little segment went by quickly. We've been running along on our other segments, but you are listening to the Financial Freedom Show with Paul Taylor, CEO of Capital Advisory Group. We'll be right back.
Paul Taylor, president and founder of Capital Advisory Group and your financial coach, and also the host of Financial Freedom, heard every Saturday morning at 7 a.m., understands that your ultimate goal is making sure your money lasts a lifetime. Mark your calendar on Thursday, December 6th, Monday, December 10th, and Tuesday, December 11th at 6 p.m. At his office, Paul will be holding the most comprehensive one-hour financial learning event he has ever held before. Over the years, listeners of Financial Freedom have had access to numerous classes, charts, systems, newsletters, and bits of information to guide them through choppy financial waters. Paul has put together a simplified one-hour event for the layman investor and retiree, explaining the 7 financial tools. 98% of all retirement savings flow into and how to choose which one is best for you. So call Capital Advisory Group today, 704-947-6985. Once again, 704-947-6985. Seating is limited, so call today.
This is Paul Taylor, president and co-founder of Capital Advisory Group. I have put together a simplified one-hour event for the layman investor and retiree for free. Call Capital Advisory Group at 704-947-6985. Call now. Seating is limited.
You're listening to Financial Freedom, a show about living the best years of your life your way. Now, here's your host, Paul Taylor.
And welcome back to the Financial Freedom Show with Paul Taylor, CEO and president of Capital Advisory Group. We have offices throughout the Charlotte area and Lake Norman area. And we have a special guest today, David Connor, who's been called John Connor about 20 times during the show because it's too early for me on Saturday morning. And I keep thinking of the Terminator. I'll be back. But, hey, folks, if you're just tuning in, we've been talking about a number of different things. David, John, David, I'm going to get him on. Right before we left, David, we were talking about the Social Security timing, how that can be an incredible benefit for folks. And a lot of people just believe that they go to Social Security, they turn it on when they want to, and it's very simple. You can delay it a couple of years. It's not going to be that big of a difference. But there is over 10,000 different scenarios, and it's impossible for anybody to figure that out. We got a report that we will run for you, folks. If you want to call in, we will run this report for free, and that number is 1-800-551-5086, 800-551-5086. I know that we have a lot of young listeners. Folks, if your parents are fixing to get on Social Security or are on Social Security, there's things they can still do. So, David, let's talk about this particular case. You were just fixing to get into it, and it was a case that I found very heartwarming, and I mean, you really changed somebody's life on a recent case that you just did.
Well, that's true. I had one of my clients who is basically in his late 30s, early 40s, and he was asking me if I could help his parents out because they were really struggling. And I agreed to meet with them, and they came in, and the facts were pretty simple. She was 62, he was 66, and they struggled throughout their last few years of working and went through a lot of their savings, and they were just not making ends meet. And he was continuing to work. A new phrase people are going to hear often is called work-tirement. People who are working while supposed to be retired. Well, the mother had gone ahead and turned on her Social Security. The husband and wife went to the Social Security office, and they wanted to turn on her Social Security benefit to give them some cash flow because she wasn't working. And that's the key, folks, is obviously you've heard this probably, but if you collect Social Security prior to full retirement age, from 62 to 66, you have an earnings test. And 2012, you couldn't make more than $14,640 in a year and draw Social Security at the same time without penalizing your Social Security. So she wasn't working. He still was. And she turned on her Social Security benefit at 62, and she had been a good wage earner. She was a teacher, and she received a benefit of $1,500 a month at 62. So she was getting $1,500 a month, and the Social Security people asked him if he wanted to turn his on, because he had no earnings test at 66. He could turn his on, and he said no. And the philosophy there was he knew that he wanted to leave his wife in a very good cash flow situation if something happened to him later on. So he wanted to delay his benefit to give her those delayed retirement credits as a survivor benefit. But it was hard because they needed the cash flow. So she turned hers on at age 62 and was getting $1,500. Now, when I met with them, I asked him, I said, did you ask the Social Security people about your opportunity to collect off of your wife's benefit? And he said, well, no, I didn't know I could do that. I thought I either collected mine or I didn't. And I said, no, it's not that simple. And I ran the analysis for him, and I showed him he could be collecting 50% at age 66 of his wife's PIA amount, the primary insurance amount. So in other words, her age 66 benefit was not going to be $1,500. Her age 66 benefit was going to be closer to $2,000.
So right now she was earning $1,500 on her
Correct.
Social Security, but her PIA at 66 was $2,000, and he's eligible to get half of that now. And it's not affecting any more of her Social Security, and it's not affecting his Social Security.
Correct.
Okay.
Because he's 66, he has no earnings test, and because he waited until full retirement age to do that restricted application I was telling you about, he gets to collect 50% of her age 66 amount. And that blows most people's minds. They can't believe that, but that's right. So he is getting, I gave him the report, and I said, go down to Social Security right now. Take this report and tell them you want to file a restricted application, and that is to collect a benefit off of your wife's earnings record, and it does not lower hers at all, folks. He was able to collect $1,000 a month. Starting right now, he can collect $1,000 a month, which is half of her age 66 amount, and this is free money, Paul. So many people leave this on the table because they don't know about these strategies. Even a lot of attorneys and accountants that I talk to have never heard of this. So now we've got this gentleman who's got $1,500 a month from his wife. He has another $1,000 a month coming in from a restricted application. So between the two of them, they've got $2,500 a month. And he's still meeting his primary objective, delaying his retirement credits, so that by the time he's 70, he switches from the restricted application over to his regular application called a standard application, and his benefit by that time was going to be around $3,000 a month.
And the reason he was doing that is because his wife would get more benefit after he passed. She
will get more benefit, a bigger survivor benefit after he passes.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So do the math. He's got $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year for 4 years. That's a $48,000 block of money
Free money.
I showed him how to get that no one else ever told him he was eligible for. And that's the free money. That's the rules. That's how they wrote the rules. We're following the rules. We're just teaching people, educating them as to how to use these rules to their favor. It's like in golf. If you know the rules, you can help yourself oftentimes with certain drops and certain rules. The rules are there, and you can use them to help you. And in this case, I would say $48,000 is quite a help.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you've really changed their entire livelihood in this situation, and this was the parents of one of your clients. So just by doing that alone, you not only made him an extra $48,000 in 4 years, but his Social Security increased almost $1,000 a month, just to round numbers off, in the future. So
correct.
The total future and current savings and future money that would be coming in was well over $100,000 mark. So,
and that $1,000 a month extra, because he was thinking I either get mine or I don't. That $1,000 a month extra made a huge difference in their ability to live their lifestyle the way that they hoped to live and not be struggling and running out of money on the 27th of each month.
That's fantastic. Folks, what we're doing is David and myself are doing some seminars right now. You can call our 800 number, and we will give you the dates and locations. You can reach us at 1-800-551-5086. That's 800-551-5086. Or you can call my office during regular business hours at 704-947-6985. 704-947-6985. Now, we got just a little bit of time left here. One thing that you talked about also is you had a case where somebody had a dependent as grandparents and their grandchild was living with them, and you were able to help them also. Briefly talk about that. We got about 4 minutes left here that we can discuss it.
Well, a lot of people, they know that there are survivor benefits for a dependent child if the father passes away, let's say, or the mother passes away. But a lot of people aren't aware of this. Sometimes people call it the Viagra story. But if you are collecting Social Security benefits and you have either a child, a stepchild, or a dependent grandchild that you claim on your tax return, and I had a situation recently where I had a 67-year-old grandfather who was raising his 13-year-old grandson, and he did not know that he was eligible to get a benefit for his grandson being a dependent. And I explained that to him, and he went down to Social Security, and lo and behold, he was getting an extra $900 a month until that child turns 18.
How old was the child?
He was 13.
Wow.
So that's Social Security knowing the rules and simply applying the rules, and that's what he did. So there's a $10,000 a year for 5 years. There's a $50,000 impact to their family's net income, and that grandfather's sole purpose and concern for that money was to use it to save up for his grandchild's college education. And he was worried, sick about how was he going to afford it, and now I showed him how to do it.
That's fantastic. So, folks, if you're just tuning in, what we've been talking about today is Social Security timing. The benefits that are available to you are not as simple as they seem. We have put together a report, and we have access to a very complex program. There's over 10,000 different ways that you can take Social Security. It's money you've paid into. If you are approaching retirement, if you've just recently got on Social Security, you still have choices. Even if you are on Social Security and your wife or spouse is not, you have options. And if you are young and your parents are approaching these ages, give us a call. We've got a number of seminars, which we are doing a community service, showing you how to get these Social Security reports, how it works, explain a little bit more in detail because we have limited time here today. And you can reach us at 1-800-551-5086. That's 1-800-551-5086. David, thank you for getting up early with me this morning. Our special guest here today was David Conner. You're listening to the Financial Freedom Show, where applied knowledge is wealth.